Joining me now, Charlie Hurt, opinion editor for the Washington Times, and Ari Fleischer, former White House press secretary. They're both Fox News contributors. Ari, we're going to get to the Ukraine haranguing in a moment, but I want your reaction to the House vote just successfully impeaching the DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
Well, it's actually tied to the questions you were just asking, because it just shows the urgency that House Republicans attached to securing the border. And that's why he was impeached, because he didn't secure the border. He's failed to exercise the authority he has under the law, and he works for a president who's even worse. And that's why we have an insecure border. So it's not a surprise that they were able to come back. And I guess it proves the old adage, if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Now, Steve Scalise, who's undergoing cancer treatment, made his way back to Washington to cast his vote. Obviously, that helped put them over the threshold that they needed. But, Charlie, when you look at this and you think back on what Mayorkas said when he was asked before Congress, do you consider this a crisis? And, I mean, I guess it's not official perjury because it's kind of an opinion, but it was pretty close. It was a crisis within a few months of what was happening at our border. Yeah. A few months, not 3 years later.
And there's no doubt that not just that, but there's plenty of other evidence that you could build proving that he perjured himself in testimony before Congress, trying to cover up what was going on here. Obviously, this vote, it's a great day for America. What's kind of frustrating about it, of course, is the fact that even though you have a very closely divided House, Republicans just barely eked through. It looked from, I couldn't see perfectly clearly, but it looked like 3 Republicans had voted against this. This is a abrogation of their responsibilities. And I know a lot of people say, well, you know, Republicans only have a bare majority in the House. Well, Republicans have the most important power in Washington, and that's the power of the purse. And all taxation, all legislation dealing with taxation or spending begins in the House, giving Republicans in the House the most powerful ability to shut the government down if the administration refuses to enforce our border. And, you know, this should have happened as soon as Republicans took control of the House. I'm glad it's happening now, but they should pursue this. This is and this is something that the American they can win this fight with the American people, because Americans, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, are outraged with this.
Yeah, and I have a message. Yes. I have a message to what you just alluded to, and I want to Ari in on this. We had 3 GOP congressmen vote no. Tom McClintock, obviously he's always in a tough re-election campaign in California. Republican coalition in California is always kind of playing it safe here. Ken Buck, Republican from the purple state of Colorado, actually pretty liberal state. Mike Gallagher from Wisconsin. Ari, I've got to say, even in those states that are kind of, you know, usually obviously Democrat leaning, this is a pretty easy vote in the end, is it not?
Yes.
Well, I think there's 2 ways to look at it. One is on the substance of the vote and the failures of the Biden administration on the border. The other is, what does impeachment mean? And I do think there's a purist view that, according to the Constitution, is for high crimes and misdemeanors. And they can ask themselves, has a high crime or misdemeanor been taking place? But look, the person to blame here is Nancy Pelosi. When they impeached Donald Trump twice under the Democratic House, they turned the impeachment, high crime and misdemeanor, into a vote of no confidence. That's where this started. And so it shouldn't surprise anybody, especially the Democrats, if now Republicans who hold power start to impeach Biden administration officials for a lack of confidence. So if you want to say who started to violate the norms and change the rules in Washington, I'll go right to those 2 impeachment votes, because that started to break the patterns, and that's what you saw happen today, with only 3 lone Republican holdouts for that procedural ground that it wasn't a high crime or misdemeanor.
Well, every time he would come before Congress, he was very smug in the face of an overwhelming human, economic, and national security emergency. And he was kind of like, well, kind of annoyed by the whole process and fairly flip in his responses. And I don't believe, Ari, even the biggest, you know, Trump critics thought that was very smart and thought that was the right approach, given what we knew was happening at the border and now into the interior part of the country.
Yeah, and I think it shows the American people who was fighting to close this border, Who is fighting to make sure that if you come to this country, you come here legally? If you come here illegally, there's really only one party left that is going to do anything about it. This so-called bipartisan deal that was reached in the Senate was the most loophole-laden, amnesty-filled provision I've ever seen. It wasn't a compromise. It was giving up on the border. And so I think it's a good thing House Republicans are there to fight for the future and to fight to keep that border so it is secure and only people come who are supposed to.
Yeah, and Charlie, the last time a impeachment of a cabinet official occurred was 1876. It was a Secretary of War. And so this is not something that is taken lightly or happens casually. But I would say if purists, I know what purists think about high crimes and misdemeanors, and I understand that.
Right.
But boy, it's hard to imagine our founders, if they could envision what America would be, that this is what America would be, with a border that is ultimately meaningless, and a lot of other things that have happened. But with that one fact, to me, that's pretty close to an impeachable, if not slam dunk impeachable offense.
Well, I agree with you completely, and I do appreciate what Ari is saying. I don't like the idea of turning impeachment into this political cudgel that you just sort of go back and forth over nonsense. But this is not nonsense, and I know that you're not saying that, Ari. But I can't think of any example of this is aiding and abetting an invasion of our country. This is surrendering our borders, completely giving in to enemies we don't even know, and allowing them into our country to take over our country and to surrender the border to the worst human smuggling, slave drivers, the drug cartels, all of the worst elements of humanity, and surrendering it all. And so in that particular case, I can't think of a higher, a more urgent reason to impeach somebody. And quite frankly, I wish they had done this at the beginning and gone after Joe Biden himself over this, because he is allowing an invasion at the border. This is as close to treason as I can think. I don't know what else there is. If you're not going to enforce your own borders and allow people who are killing Americans to come into the country and completely disregard all of our rules and our laws, I don't know what impeachment is for if it's not for this.
Ari and Charlie, stay with me on this. Joining